thoughts of Mike Steph, this marks a new beginning. Thanks for supporting a total reinvention. The soul is still here, but the vibe's a little different. Unpredictable, hide the kids and the women. Sports of all sorts, music, mixed for living. Rep New York City, but ain't the politician. Always bring the heat, Steph bacon in the kitchen. Big shout to y'all, I appreciate the listen. Donnie put the rest, but I'm still in the best. In the word of what I do, all y'all know the rest. I live it, I breathe it, I'm the whole definition. The pinnacle, the ultimate, I'm on a new mission. The salty thoughts of Mike Steph, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, the best in the world of what he does. Tap in. What up, people? What up, people? Welcome to not just another edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. This is a very, very special edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, best in the world at what he does. Yeah, man. And I know y'all probably like, darn, you know, this is becoming like a every weekend ritual of you saying that this is a very special edition. Well, would you rather me lie? No, this is a very special edition because this is a one night only event, a one time only event. Y'all do know that I have another platform that I co-host along with the Mojo King. And that platform would be Hidden Gems Football, a part of the 19 Media Group, in which we recap, or matter of fact, not recap, we preview the upcoming weeks of NFL action. Now, all my NFL fans out there, all my followers of, American football, know that we're on the precipice of the best time of the year, which is the NFL postseason, aka the very beginning of the postseason, aka Wildcard Weekend, Super Wildcard Weekend. But there was a problem. The problem, or an eye of the beholder, the problem was that my partner, one half of Hidden Gems Football, the Mojo King, is currently on vacation. Not only is he on vacation, he is hopefully on a cruise somewhere sipping a virgin pina colada with his friends and family. And away from the wintry mess that we got here in good old New York City. But I'm like, nah. We can't deprive the masses of what they're accustomed to. We can't deprive the masses of what they need, what they richly deserve. And being the fact we're a football show, what kind of football show would we be if we forego the opening week of the NFL postseason? So we have to figure out what we're going to do. So my trusty noggin came up with this plan. Well, being the fact that my partner / co-founder of the 19 Media Group would be away with no internet access whatsoever, I was thinking like, well, since I do a podcast of my own, and I wouldn't say I double dip, but I do talk about football, more specifically my New York Jets at Jets, but I talk about football. Why don't we try this? Why don't I helm the mantle this week and just actually make this episode of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast a Hidden Gems Football edition? After some thinking, the Mojo King said, you know what? You want to do it? Yeah, we want to do it. Right here, baby. for two reasons. Actually, one reason, one more importantly. I sometimes can tend to put my foot in my mouth, and I just want to have the freedom of speech, if you will, to be fully me. Now, I'm telling y'all right now, this is going to be something that y'all don't expect. Well, watchers and listeners of Hidden Gems Football, this is going to be something y'all didn't expect. Watchers and listeners of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, it's going to be something y'all don't expect either. And I'm not even going to pull the cat out the bag. Y'all going to have to watch the whole episode, and y'all get exactly at the end what I'm talking about. But we have sponsorships on Hidden Gems Football. We have sponsorships, a part of the 19 Media Group. I did not want to be responsible for effing up any of those sponsorships. So I'm going to let y'all know right now, if y'all didn't know already, the thoughts and comments and statements of this edition of what I'm going to coin Salty Hidden Gems Football are Mike Steph's and Mike Steph's alone, and they do not necessarily, or should I say, the 19 Media Group network does not necessarily agree with any off-the-wall antics that I may or may not come across during this recording. But being the fact that I'm half of Hidden Gems Football, yeah, we're going to keep the ball rolling. So it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a fun ride. And most listeners know that I usually don't edit shit. And yeah, that's one thing. I don't edit anything, but I'm going to put this together the best way I know how, and it's going to be very, very interesting. So stay along for the ride. Hopefully I didn't run anybody off in the first 7 minutes. Stay along for the ride and really get yourself ready for a very, very special edition of Hidden Gems Football, the Salty Edition, where I will break down all 6 NFL wildcard games that we have coming up this weekend. And I will give a couple thoughts with a little sprinkle of salt, or as someone would affectionately call me, the Salt Bay. I will give my little salty thoughts on a couple transactions that happened earlier today, because I'm letting y'all know right now, I'm recording this on Monday evening / Tuesday morning. So all the lines that I'm going to give, as in the over-unders, the favorites, they're as of Monday afternoon. So, yeah. With all that being said, I'm going to get this show on the road. So without further ado, good night and goodbye.
Say it to you slowly and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
Once again, we are on. I am the great Mike Steph. The Mojo King is on vacation, and this is Hidden Gems Football, the Salty Edition, previewing this upcoming weekend's NFL Wild Card Weekend. Yes, indeed. I have my trusty companion, my actually, to be blunt, that's Stitch from Lilo and Stitch fame. My lovely daughter Mia gave that to me for a Father's Day present, maybe about 3-4 years ago. I don't remember if it's pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, but yeah, he's gonna be riding with me shotgun this weekend, and don't expect much from him because this is gonna be a Mike Steph production. Anyway, as we normally do on Hidden Gems Football, we start off the festivities with Mike Steph's one big thing. And it's going to be a doozy because Mike Steph does not have a timer. That means I can go as long as I want. No. Mike Steph's one big thing is the following. The highs and lows, or should I say highs and lows, is the theme of this week. As a lifelong pessimist who has turned over a new leaf, I'll start with the negatives for whole time's sake. Negative number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, that fraudulent team that I've told the world time and time again. I told them in the Hidden Gems Football AFC South preview that their expected over-under win total was 9-10 games. I'm like, why? Because they snuck in the playoffs? Because the Tennessee Titans collapsed last year? Now all of a sudden we're supposed to be in fear of the Jaguars? Guess what? The Jaguars, after an 8-3 start, with 1-5 in the last 6 games to miss. That's right, miss. That's right, MISS. Missed the playoffs. They got thoroughly defeated against the Tennessee Titans game. A Tennessee Titan team that was playing for nothing but pride and legacy. I said before the season they were overrated, and my thoughts became the absolute truth. Trevor Lawrence threw 2 costly interceptions, and Mike Vrabel outclassed Doug Peterson. It seems to be a yearly occasion. Seems like underachieving franchises are a thing down in Jacksonville, i.e., a certain wrestling company that based themselves out of Jacksonville, a certain overmatched CEO. This guy right here. I just wonder if ownership has anything to do with it. I don't know. Maybe just a thing. Now, for negative number 2, or should I say negative 2, if you will, the Bill Belichick era has seemingly come to an end in New England. Who would have thought that 6 Super Bowl wins and 9 appearances in the big game would buy you only 3 non-playoff seasons? You see me shedding a tear? Do you? No, don't let yourself get distracted by this simply ravishing face on your screen. Don't let my debonair looks, my dashing appearance cloud your judgment, cloud your thinking. But the Pats went out with a whimper against my beloved Jets this past Sunday, 17-3, in a driving snowstorm in New England, Foxborough to be correct. That broke the 15-game winning streak against the New York Jets that lasted 7.5 years. It's almost like the 7-year itch for marriages. It always has to come to an end sometime. Not saying that I have any type of experience with that, but it's the same thing as broken mirrors, 7 years of bad luck, 7-year itch, marriages, same shit. So always have to come to an end sometime. And it's fitting. It's just fitting that the team that actually led or potentially led Bill Belichick to New England with his hastily written note, his hastily written resign letter on a piece of napkin, I resign as the HC of the NYJ. And that's how he ended up in New England. Just might be his last loss as well. Interesting. Does that man look like somebody who's returning to the scene of the crime? Does that man look like somebody who is eager to continue holding the reins of a franchise that he's held the head coaching position for what? Going on 24, 25 years almost? Or does that man look like a man that needs to be put out of pasture, put to rest, laid down, put down, if you will? I don't know. You be the judge. Negative number 3. Told you I'm a pessimist at heart. After vouching for Justin Fields last week, and after actually putting my name on the Chicago Bears to defeat and knock the Green Bay Packers out of the playoffs. Remember, that was my pick of the week. Can I hide? Can I really hide?
because they made me a damn fool. And my pick of the week actually cost me $300 on a 6-leg parlay because I hit 5. But number 6 effed me up. And the number one culprit right here is Justin Fields. So after vouching for Justin Fields last week and saying that this was an opportunity for him to shine, he stunk up the place when having the chance to play spoiler against those damn Green Bay Packers. Only passing for 148 yards, only rushing for 27 additional yards, and not getting the Bears, into the end zone made the decision easier on the Bears going into this offseason, in my opinion. With the number one draft pick, with the number one pick in this year's upcoming NFL draft, they will have the opportunity. They will have the pick of the litter when it comes to quarterbacks coming out and a chance to reset yet again in the Windy City. I don't know. I'm a little bitter. I don't wish Justin Fields no ill will, but when somebody costs me some precious coin, especially coming after the holidays where I need to recoup whatever went out the door, forgive me for having a little chip on my shoulder. I'm sorry. Cry me a river. The highs are simple. I guess this would be positive number 1. The Raiders just might have themselves a head coach if they decide to take the entrance tag off of AP, Antonio Pierce, after taking over this ragtag bunch in the City of Angels. Yeah, my bad. Sin City, Las Vegas. He had a 5-4 record. And most importantly, the team responded to him, playing with passion and intensity. But we've been down this road before, haven't we, Raider fans? Remember Rich Vitacchio or Vitacci or Vasucci, or pretty much the dude that led them to their last playoff appearance after the dismissal of John Gruden. Remember him? They came so close of winning the playoff game in Cincinnati. Yeah. We've been down this road before with the Raiders, eschewing the incumbent and reaching for a person outside the building, stunting whatever progress was made. Will they repeat that problem again? Will they do that again? For Raiders fans, Raiders faithful, Raiders Nation, I hope not. Or they should hope not. Because AP, he seemed to be the dude that they need to just give a little space to and really let him rock. But there has been some scuttlebutt that, Jim Harbaugh might have an eye on the Raiders, and everybody knows Mark Davis is not shy on throwing the bank at a head coach if he really, really wants them. I would prefer him throw the bank at AP, but maybe it's too close to home. And hopefully, this 5-4 end of the season, and being the fact that you got Josh Jacobs vouching for him, you got Devontae Adams vouching for him, you got that defense playing up to par, if I don't say, above par, with Max Crosby and them boys, that they give Antonio Pierce his just dessert, his just due, and really let him rock. Because I think the Raiders could be a problem. Am I saying Super Bowl contender next year? No. But it could be a hard out because these last 9 games, nobody had an easy time against AP, a.k.a. Suge Knight. Now, positive number 3, of course, I got to bring it home. I got to be home team. Brooklyn's own, I'm from the town. The Jets at Jets. Finally snapped their long losing streak against their arch nemesis, the New England Patriots. But that isn't the high. No, that isn't the high. Especially being the fact it cost them prime draft positioning. No. The plus to me was unleashing the beast, unleashing the Breece Hall, that is, the last couple of weeks, and hopefully, just hopefully realizing that his talent should be on constant display next season, regardless of the quarterback situation. Everybody, we expect Aaron Rodgers to return. Some would say he owes us at least one season to return and give us 100, if not, should I say 150%? But regardless of the QB situation, Breece Hall proved that you need to feed the Breece. A dual threat. This past Sunday in the season finale, he ran in the snow for 178 yards on the ground on 37 carries. For the season, he had over 1,400 yards total, over 70 receptions, and this is coming off ACL surgery last year. Breece Hall, along with Garrett Wilson, who unfortunately left the game early due to concussion protocol. I'm not sure if he actually got a concussion or not, but according to, pretty much they just wanted to keep him out of harm's way. With those two studs on offense, hopefully we can get the output that we was expecting this year, but especially being the fact that Breece Hall would be one more year removed from ACL surgery, and we should hit the ground running. So yeah, that, my friends, has been Mike Steph's one big thing. Yeah. The first game on the docket, the first game that sets off the weekend, is the AFC matchup between the Cleveland Browns at the record of 11-5. 11-6? Yeah, matter of fact, 11-6. Duh. I forgot. 17 games. 11-6 going against the AFC South champions, the Houston Texans. Who would have thought that? I know I wouldn't have. Now, the line for this game has Cleveland favored by 2.5. The over-under for this game is 44 combined points. Now, this is going to be the funny part, because I'll probably chop it up this time and butcher it, and I probably won't try again for the next 5 games. But just to try to get my math correct, because this is usually a Mojo King special. Stitch, can you help me? Can you help me with this? Of course you would. Okay, so the calculations would be what? 22, so that's 44, right? So Cleveland is favored by 2.5 points. So that would be what? Cleveland would be 23 and a quarter points, and Houston would be 21 and a quarter points. Would that be right? I don't know. Let's just put it this way. Cleveland's favored by 2.5 points. See, I knew I was going to butcher it. That's why we missed the Mojo King. But now to my analysis. Now, when you're talking about recent history, and I told you that was the last time I'm going to do it. When it comes to recent history, has anybody had the Browns as favorites in a playoff game? Not to my knowledge. A couple years ago when they faced off against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that wild card game, I'm quite sure they wasn't favorites in that game. And then the following week, when they went to Kansas City, I know they wasn't favored in that game. And shoot, and tell you the truth, I can't remember the last time Cleveland was in the playoffs. Maybe the Kelly Holcomb days, and that's like mid 2000s, right around the time they came back as a franchise. But I digress. The Cleveland Browns had a very good year. Great by their standards. They went 11-6 with 4 different quarterbacks. They started with Deshaun Watson. Then they had the dude that used to be on the XFL. He started for a game or two. Then they had the rookie out of UCLA, something Robinson. He started for a game or two. And then they finally got Joe Flacco straight off the couch and in between carpooling. And in between, they lost, in between all that shuffling of the quarterbacks, they lost, some would say, their best offensive player early in the season. And that would be running back Nick Chubb. Joe Flacco has thrown for plus 300 yards in 4 to 5 games he played. Now combine that explosiveness, that old man strength in that arm, with the suffocating defense led by Myles Garrett, they have a great chance of going deep in the playoffs. But, there is a but. On the opposite side, you have the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, to me, are a great story. They're led by Coach of the Year candidate, DeMeco Ryans, and Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, quarterback C.J. Stroud. They have overachieved their projections and should be able to play loose and carefree with low expectations. Combined with the injury-riddled offense that they have, it'll be tough for them to pull this game out, but they do have home field advantage, and I predict a close game. The Browns defense, even though I just said they're suffocating, yes, they are. They are a totally different defense on the road as opposed to in the friendly confines of the dog pound in Cleveland. And they could be scored on because this season, a lot of their highest point totals allowed were on the road. So, who am I going to go against? I mean, who am I going to have? Who am I picking? My heart wants me to pick the Texans. And I think in this matchup, being the fact that I have no love lost for Cleveland, especially how they did my New York Jets just dirty a couple Thursdays ago, this is going to be my pick. Houston, I'm picking to go against the spread, so I think they're going to cover that 2.5. Are they going to pull it out? F it, why not? So I have Houston pulling out the quasi upset at home against the Cleveland Browns and leave the Browns into futility as they normally are. As for that over-under, I'm going to go over. I could see this being a 27-24 battle. Dare I say, a 31-27 victory for the Houston Texans, because if one thing that Houston does and C.J. Stroud does, he is that with no problem whatsoever. So, to repeat my pick, I'm going Houston for the win. Houston to cover the spread, of course, because they're winning. And the over-under, I'm going over. Because I think C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans are on a mission where they get to the Super Bowl, where they get to the promised land. Only time will tell. But I think they're going to get out this first-round matchup and improve your boy, Mike Steph. Correct. The late game on the Saturday slate is a rematch from, what was it? Frankfurt, Germany? One of the Frankfurt, Germany games, which was the Chiefs versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins what is there to say about these Dolphins, man? I know my partner always tells me, yeah, sometimes he thinks I overuse the fraud thing or I call too many of these teams frauds. But when I see fraudulent behavior, guess what? I'm going to call it. I said it from the jump. I didn't care who told me different. I didn't care if the record told me different. I knew Miami was never as good as their record. They were 10-3 at one time. 10-3 at one time. And what did that lead them to? It led them to a game against probably the worst team that you wanted to face in the opening round of the playoffs, especially coming off the end of the season that Miami's come off. Now, the Dolphins, they just, let me get to the line. Miami is on the road against Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 43.5 points. The Dolphins choked away the division title at home at Hard Rock Stadium. Hard Rock. Against the Buffalo Bills. Bill Mafia and this bitch. To end up in this predicament. Losers of 3 of the last 5 games, with their 2 wins of those last 5 games coming against my lowly New York Jets and a Dallas Cowboy team that is a vastly different team on the road than they are at home. Tyreek Hill continues to not make the big catch in the clutch. How many times has he dropped? He's dropped multiple touchdowns in the last couple of weeks. He's dropped multiple big-time catches or potential big-time catches that could have sustained drives, that could continue drives. Far be it for me to say Tyreek Hill is not clutch, but call spade a spade. Tua Tagovailoa is serviceable. Yeah, I'll give it that. He's serviceable. But does he elevate the players around him or vice versa? I mean, when you got Jayden Waddle and you got Tyreek Hill and you got A-Chain and you got Mostert and you got the somewhat offensive genius of Mike McDaniel on the sideline, do you not just have to play your position and everything's going to be all right? Now, you could say injuries have caused them this downward slope. You know, Bradley Chubb a couple weeks ago. I think Cameron's coming off the injury. He had another injury. Xavier Howard has been gimpy. He had another injury last night during that 90-some-odd yard punt return by the Buffalo, which turned the game and the momentum all the way around in Buffalo's favor. But at this point, every damn team is dealing with injuries to important players. To me, it's inexcusable to have a 3-game lead with 4 games remaining and lose a head-to-head against that team that then tracked you down at home. And because of their ineptitude, you know they got to go to Kansas City in the cold, albeit against a vulnerable team in Kansas City, but a team that still has the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You know, they're talking about at game time, the temperature could be close to 0 in Kansas City. The only thing that's saving them is maybe the lack of precipitation. But for a team that had the number 2 seed in their grasp to play at home in the weather that they prefer, the weather that will showcase their speed, and for them to go totally opposite, to go north, not the far north, but the plains, in that dry cold, I don't think that offense travels. But that's the situation that they put themselves in. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, on the other hand, what can you say about them? This is what I can say. They've had the worst season in the career of Patrick Mahomes. And they still won 11 games in the division for the umpteenth time. So, what does that say? But this is the first time that they just might have to play a playoff game on the road in this era. Assuming that they win this game, which I'm kind of showing my card that I assume they will. Will they be able to string together drives consistently with their buttery hand receivers that they have? MVS, Kadarius Toney, where he actually stay on side. I think, they've been riding their defense all season, and I expect them to continue to do so here. They need to run the rock with Pacheco. Holmes and Kelsey need to control the rock as well and wait for the Dolphins to implode because you know what time it is? It's time for a Dolphins mistake. It's time for a Dolphins turnover. It's time for a Dolphins drop. That should be part of the plan. That should be the plan. Now, once again, Kansas City is favored by 3.5 points. That spread, I'm going to do what people have accused me of doing. That's actually playing both sides. That spread, that 3.5 bothers me. Yes, they did beat the Dolphins 21-14, and they held off a late flurry. But that 3.5, I think it's going to be a nip and tuck game. I think it's going to come down to the foot of Butker, the kicker for Kansas City. So I'm going to go Miami against the spread. I think they're going to cover the spread, but Kansas City for the win. And that over under 43.5. That works out to what? 21.25 and 22.25, something like that. I think I got it correct this time. I think that's actually kind of apropos. So that over under, I'm going to go slightly under. So Kansas City for the money line, Miami to cover the spread, or to go against the spread, and the over under, I'm actually going under. Yeah. I swear, I'm not going to have nobody to blame because this is the one-man show this week. So that means all the picks are mine. And I don't even got anybody to say, which score? Did I sway your opinion? Because Stitch, did you sway my opinion? Oh, look at you. Look at Stitch. Look at Stitch. Oh, my God. Yeah. Thoughts and the views of Mike Steph and Mike Steph's alone, along with Stitch, and so my. The next game on the docket, which is actually the opening game on the Sunday slate, features the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Orchard Park in cold, potentially snowing Buffalo against Bills Mafia and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are favored in this game by 9.5 points. The over-under is 39.5. That's going to be interesting. I got this whole spiel to actually thinking this whole noggin, which way I'm going to go, because that spread is borderline disrespectful. It's borderline disrespectful to the subject of my one big thing last week, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin brings his Steelers into the playoffs on a 3-game winning streak after dusting the mothballs off of Mason Rudolph. And I don't have no papers, but that's for the Mojo King. Does anyone think that a deep run is possible by this team? Not really. But in my opinion, humble opinion, that's only due, should I say, only due to the greatness of Mike Tomlin, will I not dismiss it altogether. Especially since they've given up more points than they scored this whole season. The defense can hold its own with anyone. And if Rudolph remains competent, they could possibly put a scare into the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills, say what you want to say about them, Josh Allen will give up 1 or 2. Now, Pittsburgh has been opportunistic this year, and I think that in particular is why they can put a scare into the Buffalo Bills. Now, going on the opposite end, the Buffalo Bills are hot as hell. Running the table after being 6-6, winning 5 straight games, which gained them the number 2 seed and their 4th straight divisional crown of the AFC East. Josh Allen continued his roller coaster ride that he embodies in a 2-touchdown, 3-turnover performance this past Sunday in their victory over the aforementioned Miami Dolphins. Interesting stat. Yeah, there goes that word again. An interesting stat came across my eyes, came across my table of relevancy. In this, Josh Allen had 16 consecutive games of 2 or more total touchdowns. That's incredible, even taking into account the giveaways in those games. The Bills are 6-1 since Joe Brady took over the calling duties on the offense. A more balanced and controlled offense has led to this late surge. Also, another interesting stat, over the last 3 seasons, albeit regular season, over the last 3 years, the Buffalo Bills are 14-2 in December games or later. This game is in January. This game is a postseason game as opposed to a playoff game. But, a postseason game as opposed to a regular season game. But 14-2 is 14-2. Last year, in the elements, everybody thought that they had the advantage against the Cincinnati Bengals in the snow at Orchard Park. Cincinnati took them to the woodshed, almost tore that franchise apart. Here we go again. Now, as for my pick, like I said, this is borderline disrespectful. Buffalo is favored by 9.5 points at home. Yes, everybody knows Pittsburgh for the majority of the season has struggled to score. Yes, Pittsburgh got in on a late, pretty much they got in because Baltimore didn't play anybody, and they only scored 17 points against that Baltimore defense, 17-10. And they needed some help by the aforementioned Jacksonville Jaguars to choke themselves to get in. I get all that. Buffalo, before that punt return, midway, matter of fact, into the third quarter, they only scored 7 points. They were 0 for 4 in the red zone, with, I believe, 2 turnovers inside the red zone due to the recklessness of Josh Allen. So, my pick goes as follows. Pittsburgh against the spread. I think we're going to say Pittsburgh plus the 9.5. Buffalo to win, straight money line. And that over-under, due to the elements, I'm going under. Because 9.5 is a big spread on a regular game. And in the playoffs, like I said, that's almost saying that Pittsburgh doesn't even belong in the playoffs. And some would say that's true. I would not be amongst those. And there's no way in hell Mike Tom is allowing Pittsburgh to get blown out. Even though I think their last appearance in the playoffs, they did get smashed by Cleveland. But that was due to an ancient Ben Roethlisberger. I think Matt Canada might have been the offensive coordinator at the time. And at least what they've shown is that Mason Rudolph, in his limited action this year, these 3 games, these 3 wins, is pushing the ball down the field. He's unlocked Carl Pickens. He's unlocked the deep passing game. And yeah. So, like I said, once again, Pittsburgh plus 9.5. Buffalo for the money line. The over-under due to the elements, I'm going under. The middle game on the Sunday docket features the Green Bay Packers going into Jerry's World to go against the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. What's the matter, Mia? You hurt your tooth? The crunching? I'm talking to my lovely daughter Mia. So listen. Y'all know the vibes. But yeah, the middle game is Green Bay Packers going to Jerry's World to go against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are favored about 7.5, minus 7.5 points. The over-under in this game is 49.5. So, let me see if my trusty calculations, 7.5. So, ooh, 7.5. So what? That's like 28, 21. So that's 27 and a quarter. No, 28 and a quarter for the Dallas Cowboys and 21 and a quarter for the Green Bay Packers. I think that's correct. Put in the comment section if Mike Steph don't know how to do his math correct. But yeah, so Jordan Love, I'm going to start with the Packers. Jordan Love topped off a great inaugural year as starting QB in Lambeau, winning in scenario against the Chicago Bears. Yeah, those same Chicago Bears that cost me a potential $300 in my pocket. And extending the winning streak against the Bears to 10 straight games. So that's what, 5 years in a row? He threw for 4,100 yards, over 4,100 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions for the year. After being dead in the water at the record of 6-8, they won out and took a very important step in the process of building a successful foundation. Now, as for the Cowboys to me are funny. Only the self-entitled, delusional, fraudulent head cowboy himself, Jerry Jones, would make sure there's an undercurrent of chaos going into their first playoff game, with him stating that he'll see how each game goes when determining the future of head coach Mike McCarthy and his job security. Like, Mike McCarthy has led them to 3 straight 12-win seasons. Yet that's not enough for him. That's not good enough for Cowboy Nation, is it? Their third division crown in 5 years isn't enough, I suppose. Dak Prescott had a solid season, passing for over 4,500 yards and 36 touchdowns. But to me, his chemistry with CeeDee Lamb will be the key in whatever success they have in the playoffs going forward. Now, some will say, darn, it's kind of short and sweet, right? Well, listen, I'm sorry. I'm an AFC dude at heart. So when it comes to these NFC teams, I'm giving y'all the facts and facts only. I'm going to get in. I'm going to get out. I'm going to remain PG when it comes to that remark. And I'm just going to give y'all the straight facts. So that's 7.5 with Dallas. Being the fact Dallas is at home and Dallas tends to blow teams out at home. They tend to put up the points at home. I think that at one time, if I'm not mistaken, I wish I had the video on hand for the Mojo King, but I think at one time they was averaging like 39 points per game at home. So with all those factors being involved, as much as I would love to go against Dallas, and as much as it would behoove me to have some type of controversy on this inaugural one-night only edition of Salty Hidden Gems Football, I just can't do it. So that's 7.5. I think Dallas is covering. that 7.5. So Dallas 7.5 favorite. Yeah, they're going to cover that spread. And that over under 49.5, I have a feeling that if Dallas gets the opportunity, it's going to be off to the races because they're going to try to make a statement. They're the number 2 seed. And at this point in time, as long as they win, they don't have to get out of Jerry's world until the NFC Championship game. And that's only if the 49ers continue their rampage through the NFC. I think that's enough motivation for Dallas to put the pedal to the metal and make any other team that might have to come to Jerry's world just have in the back of their mind, do we really want that smoke? I don't know. Maybe they need to abstain. Maybe they need to be smoke free. But that's what I'm taking. So Dallas, 7.5, take it to the bank. That over under, I'm going over. Not because of Green Bay, because I think Green Bay is going to be lucky to score 20 points. Dallas is going to definitely score about 35, 40 points. Yeah. And y'all know the kiss of Steph is always in effect. So when I go high, you go low. When I go low, you go high. But that's what's coming from me. And yeah, let's get this next game on the way because this NFC is dry. The Sunday night game is going to be the Rams of Los Angeles visiting the Motor City in the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are favored by 3 points. And the over-under is 51.5 points. So Vegas is expecting a quasi shootout. So what that would be, what? With that 28, 31, 31, 28, something like that. I don't know. Listen, I keep on telling you, I'm butchering this math stuff, so I'm just going to stay away. But yeah, they 51.5. Yeah, they're expecting a shootout. So this game in itself is a battle between two quarterbacks that were traded for one another for two very different reasons. The Rams felt they were one quarterback away from a championship, which in hindsight turned out to be correct because first year Matthew Stafford went to the City of Angels. He brought that team a long-awaited championship. Now the Lions felt like they owed it to Matthew Stafford to put him in a position to succeed. And while they were at it, they received a quarterback that was perceived as a throw-in, and that throw-in was Jared Goff. So who would have thought that these two teams would be facing each other in the playoffs, with Detroit being the highest seed a mere 3 seasons afterward? Not I, and not a lot of NFL faithful. Now, Sean McVay, head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, has done a wonderful job galvanizing a young team with low expectations going in and what most thought would be a rebuilding year. Kyron Williams has been a revelation and one of, if not the top running back in the league. Top candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Puka Nacua, set a rookie record for receiving yards for over 1,400 yards. And Matthew Stafford has guided the ship and battled through injuries to help them with this unexpected playoff berth. Now, when it comes to Detroit that is, the Lions are hosting their first playoff games in nearly 30 years. But they enter this landmark, this milestone occasion with a key injury. Sam Laporta, rookie tight end, suffered a hyperextended left knee and a bone bruise. Now, head coach Dan Campbell said that he wasn't optimistic about the injury, but it was actually going to be not as bad as initially expected. Now, Mr. Bite the Kneecaps Off has turned this team around, and they encapsulate the toughness, intensity of their leader. Jared Goff himself threw for over 4,500 yards with 30 touchdown passes. He did level off after a hot start, but they still played but he still played above average for the rest of the way. Now, David Montgomery, a key acquisition in the offseason, was a great pickup and rushed for over 1,000 yards to give them a ground presence, along with rookie Jahmyr Gibbs, who actually spells his name different than my grandson Jahmyr, but I digress. And he was just shy of 1,000 rushing yards himself. Amon-Ra, or should I say Mum-Ra, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a Pro Bowl snub, much to his dismay, despite having 1,500 yards in receiving and 10 receiving touchdowns. So you would think that would cause him to have a big chip on his shoulders and prove all the naysayers wrong. So, what's my pick? Who's my pick? Well, this might surprise y'all, but I am going to call for the upset. Los Angeles Rams outright will upset the Detroit Lions in Motor City. So I would say Detroit, well, the Rams +3. That over-under, I'm going over. And I hope this isn't the case, but I really believe there's going to be a crucial turnover by Jared Goff, or a crucial gamble that does not pay off by head coach Dan Campbell, and they will continue the snide of not winning a playoff game for going over 30 years. Simple as that. You know, some would say, damn, Mike, you couldn't cut them a slack, couldn't give them a pass. Listen, this is not the salty thoughts of Mike Steph giving a pass. This isn't Hidden Gems football giving a pass. No. I call it how I see it. And that's how I see it. They don't call me the face of the faceless for nothing. Actually, nobody called me the face of the faceless. I call myself the face of the faceless. But for good reason, because I say what other people won't, and I'll do what other people don't. Sure, I think we got one more game to get rid of. My bad. The Monday night standalone game. Tell you the truth, I would not have put this game on Monday night. I would have put the Rams at Detroit on Monday night. I would have put the Dolphins at Kansas City on Monday night. Dare I say, I would have put the Packers at Dallas on Monday night. But we get the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Philadelphia Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite on the road. The total, the over-under for this game is 44 points. Where should I begin? We're talking about these Philadelphia Eagles. They come in to this wild card matchup, loses 5 of the last 6 games. Their confidence is bruised. The ego is bruised. And more importantly, their bodies are bruised. Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger against the G-Men this past Sunday. A.J. Brown hurt his left knee, though it's not believed to be serious, against the same G-Men this past Sunday. Now, what's more important to me is this, to tell you the truth. I'm not talking about the X and O's. I'm not talking about the injuries. I'm not talking about the players on the field. You know what's most important to me about this whole 5 out of 6 game skid that the Eagles have been on? My arch nemesis, Nick Sirianni, Mr. Nick Sirianni. What can I start? How can I start with this guy? The humbling of Nick Sirianni. The smug head coach of the Eagles has been insufferable for years since he took over, especially last year when they had a little bit of success and got to the Super Bowl, he was horrible. He's always me mugging the camera. Matter of fact, not even me mugging the camera. He's always mugging for the camera, saying outwardly obnoxious things, such as this, Danny, that I read in Yahoo Sports today. Courtesy of Charles Robinson, after a Monday Night Football victory over the Kansas City Chiefs that put them at 9-1 and looking unstoppable in the NFC, Nick Sirianni looked at the camera while he was walking off the field and said, "Hey, I don't hear that shit anymore, Chiefs fans." To me, and that shit he was talking about was Chiefs saying that he was just such an insufferable douchebag. Excuse my French. Call a spade a spade. And comments like that is why it makes it so pleasing to see someone get his comeuppance. To me, he's being exposed right before our very eyes. After a phenomenal season last year, they ended in a Super Bowl loss, but they got there. He lost both of his coordinators, both his offensive and his defensive coordinators, and shuffled around the play calling duties a couple weeks ago by putting retread coordinator Matt Patricia in charge of calling the defense to middling, let's just chop it down, mid results. Was the success that he had the last couple years a product of defensive coordinator Gannon and Shane Steichen on the offense? I mean, look at it this way. Both have proven their worth in their respective spots. Steichen in Indianapolis and Gannon in Arizona. Yeah, I know you probably like Gannon in Arizona. They were 4-13. Listen, beginning of the season, can't tell me they wasn't doing for the tank. But even so, maybe wouldn't have came down to week 17 if those Arizona Cardinals wouldn't have took the Dallas Cowboys to the woodshed in the desert. Except for maybe a 2 or 3, let's say a 3-week stretch, they were in every game. They just didn't have the horses to finish the deal. But it was never for a lack of scheme. It was never for a lack of passion. It was never for a lack of effort. Shane Steichen took a team that lost their rookie quarterback. Week 2, week 3, had Gardner Minshew at the helm, under center for the majority of the season. And it took them to the last week of the season to get eliminated from playoff contention. Meanwhile, Nick Sirianni, with all these holes popping up, doesn't seem like he got an answer, does it? Doesn't seem like he got any type of way to plug the holes. And don't get it twisted. The snide remarks out of Jalen Hurts talking about, we've been looking for answers and we got to look about. We got to cut out all the distractions and looking inward at ourselves. Can't tell me that hasn't been a slight at Nick Sirianni. I'm like, yo, you see me struggling back here. I'm doing the damn thing as much as I can, and you're not giving me no help. Because evidently, the brotherly shove, guess who the brotherly shove is behind? My lord ass. I digress. Now, the Bucs, they're led by Baker Mayfield. Head coach Todd Bowles, second consecutive player berth, even though 8-9 and 9-8, you know what that leaves you to be? A 500 coach, but a 500 coach for 2 playoff appearances on his resume. And it probably bought him another season. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, yes, they are a shell of the former Super Bowl champion selves of a couple years ago, but this is actually a good matchup for them because Philly is vulnerable. Philly lost to Arizona. Philly lost to the G-Men. Philly barely beat the G-Men a couple weeks ago. So they've been struggling. And the Bucks at home, why not? So, against my better judgment, I'm going to say Philly for the victory. So give them the 2.5. The over-under, I'm going to go under because I don't think neither one of these teams are going to light up the scoreboard. And as much as I would love for Nick Sirianni to get bumped out the first round, it'd probably be a little extra sweet if he wins a first-round matchup and then he gets blown out against whoever, whether it's Dallas or San Francisco. I think I would have more, more pleasure in seeing that than him getting bumped out the first round. Because to me, Sirianni is struggling, and to me, he's losing the team very, very slowly. Could he be on a hot seat in the offseason if they lose to the Bucks? Well, this is Philly, right? This is Philly we're talking about, so it wouldn't be a surprise at all. And tell you the truth, maybe, because Jeffrey Lurie, he got rid of Andy Reid after all those years, after six NFC Championship appearances. He got rid of Doug Peterson 2 or 3 seasons after he won the Super Bowl. Sirianni, what does he have on his resume besides becoming apparent that he doesn't know what he's doing? Interesting. Black Monday, which is kind of unsettling. Why everything negative had to be Black Monday, Black Friday? When the stock market crashed with Black Friday, on the Monday, the day after the end of the regular season, where people lose their jobs and get fired and get let go and all that has to be Black Monday. Why? I don't know. But I'm gonna run with it. Why can't it be White Monday? Why can't it be White Friday? Why can't it be like the Red Redding? Some crap like that. But I digress. Black Monday saw 2 coaches get canned and 1 coach resign. This first person that's on your screen is head coach, or should I say former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, that team that always seems to go 7-10. That team that from Hotlanta that my dear brother-in-law, Mr. Low Fat Beats, rides and dies for. Yeah, that team. Where their coach got shown the door this afternoon, this night. Matter of fact, I don't even think he made it to Monday. They Black Sunday his ass. They canned this boy after 3 consecutive 7-10 seasons, and his finale was having Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints. And I think this was the fireable offense in itself. Having them embarrass them by the score of 48-17 in a potential winning in scenario. But by the time they got blown out, they was out. But that's no excuse. So Arthur Smith will probably be coming to an offensive staff somewhere near you, maybe in New York, to try to revamp our offensive line. I don't know. But yeah, he's no longer the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. This dude right here, Ron Rivera, fired. The Washington Commanders kicked Ron Rivera to the curb after a 26-40 and 1-tie record in his 4 years in D.C. with 1 playoff appearance. Albeit, I believe that playoff appearance was appearance with a losing record. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. Matter of fact, they might have been 8-8. They might have squeezed the 8-8. I can't remember. But regardless, Ron Rivera fired. Losing 8 straight to end this season probably didn't help them. They were 4-5. They was kind of competitive. Sam Howard looked like he was on the upswing. And then the bottom fell out to the point that later on in the season, they had to pretty much bring in Jacoby Brissett numerous games in relief just to give them a monochrome, a chance to win some games. He got rid of Jack Del Rio early in the season. That didn't help. They traded away both their pass rushers, so pretty much they was in for the tank. And hopefully, Eric Bieniemy will be top of the list to replace them, but replace Mr. Rivera. But late Monday afternoon, they said that Chris Spielman, and former Golden State Warrior GM / agent Bob Myers would be the point people in trying to figure out who was going to be the next GM / head of football operations / head coach of the Washington Commanders. Seems like it's a total crap show over there. Last but not least, it's this guy, Wink Martindale. Former defensive coordinator of the New York Giants, the G-Men. He resigned this past Monday after one of his position coaches, I believe his linebackers coach, was fired by Coach Daboll. Brian Daboll, that is. And to me, that's lending more credence to the rift between him and Brian Daboll that they quote-unquote squashed midway through the season. Brian Daboll seemed like he was playing a game of, trying to play a game of three-dimensional checkers. Matter of fact, the best way to probably describe it is not three-dimensional checkers, a Game of Thrones, if you will, by cutting off the hand to the king. So therefore, his victory can be unabetted. So yeah, as of right now, those are the three coaching transactions that happened on Black Monday. Coaches who met their end. And you know what else met their end? I'll tell you what met their end. Me. In this edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, Hidden Gem Football edition, the Salty edition, that is. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making me and this podcast the one y'all choose to listen to, and view, and hear about, and not commenting with, but you know. I'd like to thank the Mojo King. I guess I'll hear from him when he comes back on vacation, because I don't think he got internet access, or maybe he does. So, surprise! I'd like to thank him for giving me this opportunity to host one of the flagship shows of the 19 Media Group on my platform. I told everybody that I was going to do my show justice. I was going to do it in the vein, in the same spirit of the OG Hidden Gems Football, and I believe I did so. So, yeah, next week, barring any unforeseen circumstances, Hidden Gems Football will be back at its regular location on the YouTube page, the YouTube channel of the 19 Media Group. And instead of Stitch riding a shotgun, my trusty old partner, the Mojo King, will be probably on this side of me, back in his regular position, actually getting the math down on these over-unders and giving us the injury reports that we sorely needed. But I think everything ended up being A-OK. Yeah. Next week, I don't know. Just check me back. Same Mike Steph time, same Mike Steph channel for another edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph. Will I be talking about the NFL? Maybe, probably. Will I be talking about the NBA? Because shoot, I have kind of slacked off on that because, you know, the New York Knicks made a blockbuster trade. They got R.J. Barrett out of here. They got Emmanuel Quickly out of here. And they brought OG Anunoby from the Great North, from the Toronto Raptors. and we've been on a rampage since. So maybe I'll get into that. But regardless, I'll probably just drop something top of the noggin, what they call it, spirit of consciousness or stream of consciousness type thing. Yeah, y'all know how I get down. So with all that being said, it's been a great edition, been a jam-packed edition of Salty Hidden Gems. And I know a lot of people thought there was going to be an edition of Hidden Gems Football After Dark. Listen, we have a brand that we protect, a brand that I need to protect. And I would not do damage to the brand that we've built over the last 2 years by just going renegade and going rogue. So, yeah, maybe let's put it this way. If there is ever an edition of Hidden Gems After Dark on this platform, it would be a Mike Steph Mojo King production. Even though he'll probably be like, oh hell no, you're not putting my face on that So yeah. So with all that being said, I'm gonna get out of here before I ramble and really mess up what's been a good hour and 15 minutes. So I'm gonna hit it like this. Hidden Gems Football, the Salty Edition, have been a part of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Step Podcast. What you thought? Goodbye.
Sayonara.
Bye.
This would probably usually be the part where Max be like, this has been a 19 Media Group production. Well, this has been a Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph production. And my two kids are kind of tired, so I think I need to get out of here. No real hidden gems this week, unless we're gonna actually pan over to them fighting over candy. Fighting over candy? No. Oh damn. Look, I'm trying to get some content. And y'all what you call y'all behaving yourselves? How dare y'all?